I wanna talk about some BS on the podcast. Can we get a mic check? So give it up for your co-host Joe and Greg as they lay it down like a penis on your leg and talk about that nerd-treated surgeon. Don't be late because the content is food-fed food on your plate. It's synergy, human history that conquers these topics like flat getting beat by Listerine. I wanna talk about some BS.
Hello, you're listening to the Bearded Surgery Podcast. My name is Greg Gavin, and oh my god, I can't think of anything. It's kind of a problem. Yeah, I think I'm turning into an alcoholic, but not really. Just more like light coolers, just like Mike's hard, Mike's hard, Mike's hard, Mike's hard, maybe a Smirnoff or a whatever. My friend was all like, "You drink a lot," and I'm like, "Not really. I drink when games are on. I don't like go out and party." So, you piece of shit.
You piece of shit. Oh, well, I'm Joe Nelson, and I used to drink a lot for sure. I used to dig through couches for change, try to use that to buy a Steel Reserve 211. Those are the best of times and the worst of times.
There we go. Dig through couches. Yeah. I used to dig through couches for money and all that. That's some fun stuff.
Absolutely. You
To
find
get
a lot of
ramen.
good stuff.
Yeah. Or my dad would
they're
come
like
home.
portable thrift stores.
Yeah. My dad would come home drunk every night, and he'd just leave change from all his beer money in his pockets. He'll go down on the couch, and in the morning I'd go down, search the couch, and like buy junk food or rent video games with that money. So
Change is
I
dope,
am
man.
a-
Change is underrated.
I am a avid couch diver. You know what I mean? Oh yeah,
Diving in,
it's good stuff.
elbow drop.
Well, all right, Joe. What are we talking about today?
Well, Greg, El Camino did come out recently, and Breaking
Mhm.
Bad has been a staple of television for the past
Yes, and we've been
decade or
hinting
a
at
couple
talking
decades.
about it for a while now.
Oh, I love this
So.
show. Oh, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
This shit was like Christmas for me.
Yes, only in October.
That's
Which,
an early
by
Christmas.
the way, what
Halloween
the hell?
could
How
be
come there's
Christmas.
so many like Halloween How come there's so many Christmas decorations up before even Halloween?
It's
I was
just
at,
it's the
like-
Super Bowl of holidays, man. That's just how it works. It just bleeds.
Man, it's annoying as hell. I was at a store.
Christmas is like Disney.
No, man, I was at a store the other day. I can't remember what it was. Oh yeah, it was Kmart, because the Kmart in my town is closing. Good riddance. Fuck you, Kmart. I'm going around searching for like some cheap Halloween stuff because it's a closed down sale. They have no Halloween stuff, and yet they have 5 aisles of Christmas stuff.
Mm.
I was just sitting there like dumbfounded, like, what in the fuck?
Deck the halls
Fuck
of
Kmart.
Ween, man. They love Christmas, man. It's just everywhere.
Christmas with a K. Fuck Kmart. It's overpriced as shit.
I like Target.
Well, El Camino came out, and obviously Breaking Bad is amazing, and I know you have a special place for that show, as I think most people do, but yeah, I figured we'll talk about the series of Breaking Bad, and then at the end, we're going to do El Camino, because some of you may not have seen El Camino, and you've seen Breaking Bad, but I'd assume you're not going to watch a El Camino review unless you've seen Breaking Bad. So figured this would be a good time to do a Breaking Bad discussion while we're at it. Like a 2-for-1 special. So
Greg, interesting enough, my brother-in-law Adam, he didn't finish Breaking Bad. I think he cut out after the 3rd season, and then he watched El
such a
Camino.
good season though.
Yeah, that's why I was very confused.
Mhm.
I was just hooked on it, so I fucking left him. I was like, I can't stop. But he watched El Camino without finishing Breaking Bad. He was like, "This is great." He's like, "I should have finished Breaking Bad." I'm like, "I know, yes."
But it takes away all the shit. That must have been so confusing for him. Like, who's this weird guy with the chubby face?
Yeah, there's
What's
just
with this house? And
there's so much has changed.
why is he? What's with all the flashbacks? Why does he have a beard in this scene? God, I could not think of a worse movie to watch without knowing the prior stuff.
It's the final
God.
episodes, really. It's weird to just
Yeah.
jump that far ahead. But yeah, when it's marketed like that. But you
Mhm.
know, now he wants to go watch Breaking Bad, so it worked out for the best.
Yeah, I mean, a little backwards, and I think he may be uh, maybe like a dime a dozen when it comes to that format of making him watch it like that. But hey, if it works, it works. It's a great show. It took me a few times to watch the series because I watch it, then I wouldn't watch it for a little bit, and eventually I just kind of binged the first season, and by that time I was hooked because I've noticed a lot of people tend to watch the show and they watch like the first two episodes are great, and then they start getting into like the middle episodes of that first season, and it's very slow and
Yeah,
deliberate and
they do a
character
lot of
building.
story. Yeah, it's a lot of storytelling. But
Yeah,
that's the juice of the move or of the show, man. It just
yeah,
it
hmm
keeps grabbing you a little bit and a little bit.
yeah. It's those scenes that make the ending scenes so tragic because when you
Oh,
think back on everything,
it's horrifying in perspective. That shit is
and it's
crazy.
great. Yes.
Who would have thought
All right.
all that shit? But that's the beautiful part of the show. It takes time to marinate, and then it fucking punches you in the face. To jump ahead, I don't have any complaints about El Camino. So I was very excited for this episode
Both are directed by Vince Gilligan, who's a spicy
from X
motherfucker.
Files. The motherfucker came
Yeah,
from X
and
Files and just dominated again with this.
he also did Hancock, I believe, that Will Smith superhero movie.
Did he really?
If I remember right, I'm pretty sure it is.
Oh, I hope he did. That's pretty fun.
Yeah, obviously, the acting comes into play with this. Bryan Cranston going from Malcolm in the Middle and that to this fucking serious ass role.
Oh, and these guys
Got Aaron
scooped
Paul.
up Emmy Awards early. They just fucking collected that shit when they walked in.
It's great. I mean, really across the board. I mean, Gus is great. Hank is great. Maria's great. What the hell? Skyler, Walter Jr. All the villains are iconic as shit.
Oh my goodness. Fucking tight.
They're
Tight.
There's a lot about the show that I really dig. I mean, especially for something that's an original script, which nowadays is very hard to come by. Where you think of other things that really capture the public's attention, and it's stuff like Game of Thrones, which is great, but it's a book series. Or
Yeah, they had a lot
the
to go
Marvel
off on.
Cinematic Universe, comics galore, Walking Dead comics. These are all built off of something. This is just, out of thin air. And obviously it was,
Original.
it was very well written. So,
And
that
they
kinda
were
makes
writing
me
it as they
appreciate
were
it a little
doing the
bit
show.
more.
They didn't have a big picture in mind when they started doing it. This was all like, all right, what can we do now from this point? And that is just
Dude,
that is such a zone to keep that kind of
Mhm.
consistency throughout the seasons. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
And that's kind of why shows tend to end badly, where you look at shows like Game of Thrones, where, I mean, no spoilers for Game of Thrones, but, the first 3 seasons, really, they had the books, and then they started going away from it, and by the end, they had no guideline, they had no rails for that story, so it just trailed off into, what was kind of a disappointing finale. Or you got stuff like Lost, which was another show that was really big, and
A lot
I
of
know
people
the
didn't like
writers
that
of
ending.
that. The writers didn't like it either. They wanted to finish it a lot earlier, like within the first few seasons.
It helps to keep things
And
short
then
sometimes,
and then ABC's like, we're gonna assign you to do 10 seasons. And they're like, what? We don't know how to write that far. This is not meant to be that far.
You're
So
just juicing that dry.
and that's why Lost, towards the end, you start getting all this really weird ass shit that just makes no goddamn sense.
It's all
And
left field.
it's very hard to stick the landing. And my God, Breaking Bad, I would have to say Breaking Bad probably, like, as a whole, is probably the best series I've seen. Finale, origin, the middle, the arcs, the conflict, the way it makes you think, the rewatchability. It's it's a show you can catch something new every time you see it as well, because there's a ton of symbolism
Yeah, there's big
in it,
ones that I
which
found this time around that it blew my mind. I'd call my girlfriend and just vent this shit out and be like, I forgot about this. Did you know that this referenced that long ago? And
oh,
it's
it's so great.
embedded. It's so woven in. Ah, it's just beautiful.
And another thing I like are like the camera angles, especially like the
Yeah,
really experimental ones, like that shovel cam one where they tie it to the end of the shovel,
I was just thinking
or
about those type because they do it throughout with a lot of different things. So
yeah,
they really like that, and I'm glad.
or Jesse with the gas can pouring it all over Walter's house. It's fucking fantastic, that camera view. There was one camera view I dug in El Camino. This is not a spoiler in case you haven't seen the movie. There's a scene where it's like a bird's eye view where Jesse's looking for money, and it shows like
Yes,
a time lapse where
absolutely.
he's digging through all these stuff at the same time.
There's multiple
I
Jessies in
saw
it.
that scene and I'm like, oh my god, that's brilliant.
It looks like
I
a
love
mini
that
map,
shit.
like a little video game mini map, just fucking just dragged out. It just has everything just landscaped. Oh, it's that one's so fun.
Yes, yes.
I was very impressed with that as well.
Well, all right, I guess we can't really talk about the series unless we talk about the pilot so much. We're not going to go episode through episode, but we should at least cover the pilot because it's a pretty big deal.
Well, yeah,
And
it tells everybody the motives, and the motives kind of just
Mhm.
stick without. I mean, things get twisted and more harsh, but they really
Oh yeah.
this story starts strong with setting just the color of the show. Like this is what this is gonna be.
Right. That whole episode was just gold. And as much as they packed into that and how well it is, yeah, there's so many slow moments and there's so much character building, and yet it's so suspenseful too, and you completely understand why he's doing the things he's doing by the first episode, and that's fantastic.
And
The only
at one point he references what happens in that episode. And this is deep in the show. He references it to Hank about talking about what happened. Like this is what went down. Watch how I'm gonna flip this.
mm-hmm.
So it just stands strong.
Yeah, and the show is very much based on reactions, based on what they do, which is great because chemistry and all that's based on reactions and changes, and that's very much what the show is about. And the first episode is very much, them in their raw, more or less untainted stages, where Walter is. They have the idea of like the American family, like the dream. They got the pool in the back, they got the nice house, loving wife, works at a school. His son's got cerebral palsy, but they sit down to eat. It's a big critique of the show is in the beginning. Again, those people that just don't like acting or dialogue or whatever. It's like, this is so boring. Why are they talking about eggs and cholesterol? It's like you could see how happy they are together as a family just with all these simple things. And it's that journey toward the end where they have all that money and all that material wealth and the family gets torn apart, which is kind of a hidden theme of the show in a way where it's like, wealth doesn't buy happiness. Yeah, it could buy you a nice car and all that, but
See, he's just a calm dude. Like, yeah, the house is happy and everything, but he doesn't have a lot going on. He's very stagnant. Like he knows that he's not where he should be because of his potential, and he's frustrated that he's stuck there. And you see this
yeah,
very calm, just melancholy almost, but he's just rolling through life kind of dude. And then he just snaps and becomes this what they call in the end monster. Turns into an evil like this. This is very nice. He's gonna take your shit kind of dude. Is like the ultimate asshole.
it's very much that idea of a suburban bliss, and then obviously he gets diagnosed with lung cancer, and that's kind of the first big unhinge where, he quits his job and all that, suck down this and grabs his dick.
He's puking. He's puking up in the car wash garage. Brushing out tires.
That's gotta.
He's like, fuck this.
Yeah, which that's also a nice thing about some of the opening scenes where Walter's a teacher and he's talking about basically what the show is, where he's like, chemistry is based off reactions, and he's spraying all these things to see how they react. And he's like, causes and reactions and all that, and that's basically the premise of the show.
Well, what's interesting about those classroom lectures is, as you're going through the show, whatever he's talking about in the lecture is gonna somehow impact what he does in his villainous persona.
Mm-hmm.
Like when he's talking about the chemicals that make the bomb that he takes to Tuco, he's talking about those chemicals in class.
Oh, that!
And then later on, just oh my god, yeah, just whips it at the ground, and Tuco's like, "Fuck it, take it, let's whatever." And I like how they sneak that in. It's like, yeah, he's in class, he's living this normal life right now, but you see him work through this stuff at all aspects of his day. Like, this shit is taking over. It's bleeding into his professional life.
I would say that some of the best writing is when you can understand the villains and you can sympathize with them. I mean, we were talking about that with the Joker, how you can kind of understand it, but you don't really understand it. But
yeah,
as Walter goes through his stuff, you can understand it, even though it gets more twisted. You see his reasoning with him, and it does make sense. But as he just keeps pushing the boundaries farther and farther, he's willing to do more and more wild stuff, where the first guy he kills purely self-defense. They got him in the meth lab, and he makes that a phosphine gas, I think it is.
There's the two guys in the RV. The one dies instantly from being trapped, contained with this gas, and the other one, they believe, is also dead. But as the story rolls on, he was just like in a coma almost. So he pops out of it. Now they got this guy, bike locked up against a post in the basement, and they flip a coin. One has to decide, who's gonna kill. The other one has to dispose of the body, and that shit does not work out well, Greg. This show is very much about choices and consequences, which is probably why it's just so damn good.
You see when he's trying to decide whether to kill him, his pros and his cons list, where he's got so many reasons, and you can see he's like, it's the wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
And he underlines it, all that, and then on the other side, he will kill your family. And it's that just kind of.
But it's those moments. It's when Jesse found his later on, and he had to deal with Gail. It's that the show, shows once you turn away from that, like once you taste blood, it fucks with you. There's those slow moments, but so much happens because of it. Like, they're able to write for a while, and then pay off, and then storytell a little more, and then oh shit, this happens.
When they first get that RV and he goes up to Jesse, which, my God, Jesse Pinkman's such a great fucking character in this whole series, which I think as much as Jesse goes through in the series, I think he's one of the few real, redeeming characters where you can tell he has a problem with killing people.
Well, he's got a heart.
He's not violent. Yeah, where Walter very much, I mean, once he gets the taste of it and it just becomes, I would say the first few times, because he's in the meth business, he's just defending himself. He doesn't have a choice, with Crazy 8, he's got to get rid of him. So he, chokes him with that dog collar or that dog collar. My God.
With the bike lock.
The bike lock. Yeah. Which that scene was great.
While Crazy 8 has that broken shard of glass, and he's
Yeah,
jabbing at him and
he's
sticks it in
trying
his
to
leg.
piece it together,
Yeah,
and he's about to let him go, and he decides not to, and he's that close. Which, if Walter kept his humanity there, yeah, Crazy 8 probably would have killed him. With Tuco and all them,
he
just would have
most
wiped out
definitely
his
would have.
family. So it's that, in a way, Walter survives because of that darkness. But there are a few chances in the series where he has a way out, and for his own reasons, again, because you can understand them, he decides not to. But I think that's why Walter's such a tragic character, and so is Jesse, because they're out so many times, yet they pull themselves back in one way or another, either through necessity or just pride. And
Yeah, I was
it's
constantly thinking, this is your chance, the perfect chance. Because when you go back and watch it, there were so many opportunities, but every time they did it, they took the wrong path. When I think it was Walt in the desert, I think, with Mike. After Walt goes to take Mike out, but the camera angle pans out, and this is the thing about camera angles. You get the one path that goes off to the left, and there's nothing there. Like it goes off into its own. Then you go to the right, and then somebody's gonna pay the price of life for this choice, because they went down this path instead, and it's really symbolic for the show. You just every time you come with a fork, you're like, well, I'm gonna go with this one again, anyways.
Yeah, season 1 is more or less about the like dipping their toes into the meth business. They're buying the RV, they're trying to figure out how to sell it, then they got to deal with Crazy 8, then they got to deal with finding like an actual distributor, then they got to deal with how that is with Tuco. And it's like Walter expects it to be convenient to sell all this stuff. Where he's kidding me, he's like, why can't we just sell wholesale, grow some balls? And Jesse's like, dude, that's not how it works. I'm telling you, it's safer just to sell it little by little. But
yeah, he's warned for the option. Walt doesn't take it. Goes to mix himself up with Tuco, and then not too long after that, Tuco's got them on the way to Mexico in a house with Theo.
That episode is, if it's not my favorite, it's my second.
Yeah, it's up there.
It's so goddamn tense. It's so fucking good.
Jesse says
the whole time it's just
says chili powder and fucks that whole thing up.
Tuco is fucking intense. A little bit of a tangent here. How much Better Call Saul have you seen?
You know what? Unfortunately, the first 3 episodes, and I need to go. I'm definitely going back after this and watch
Better
it.
Call. You would definitely like it. It's not as action packed as Breaking Bad, but it's got all the acting. It's got the cameos.
No, but I like Saul. Who what's his name? Bob Odenkirk.
Yeah.
I really like that guy.
Yeah, they got Mike's in it in his own way.
Yeah, I saw that. That makes me excited. And Tuco's early on.
Yeah, God, he's so fucking intense. I just love his intensity. It's just when Tuco is on the screen, it's like you fear for everyone in that room.
Yeah, he's
and
the one
when
dude
he goes
says,
to Hector, the guy in the wheelchair, he's just so like, why don't you eat, you little rascal, and all that shit. But
you want mine, huh?
Well, I mean, that's how the cartels are. Hector was a captain in the Salamanca cartel, so he's a bad motherfucker. When they show that flashback of the twins, when Hector's drowning them, or that one kid, and he breaks his toy, and he's like, I want him dead. And he's like, all right, hey, grab me that beer. You're like, no, a cold one. Then he goes down and he shoves his head in there, and the brother's got to pull him out. He's like, you got to hit me harder than that.
Well, in the beginning,
you'd have to assume.
In the beginning of that scene, he's pissing the pool, isn't he? So that whole flashback just serves to who he was.
Yeah. Which
was a rude motherfucker.
My God, Hector is one of my favorite characters. Just the shit he
Oh,
when he shits his pants
the
instead of talking to the DEA.
I guess he had to do that in real life. He,
God, I hope not.
Yeah, they said he ate a bunch of apples and did it, but I guess he's just a really seriously committed actor. I mean, it shows through his performance, but he's like, fuck it, if we're doing this, we're doing this.
Yeah, get that kid over here. I'm gonna drown that fucker for real.
That guy's a savage.
Like, oh shit, he actually drowned. Okay, bring the other kid. It's no, it's that whole scene where you could tell when they're in that little trailer out in the boonies or that little house, that shithole where Tuco's got them held hostage.
And he's
And he's
the
telling
twins
them
are
they're
on
going
their
to
way.
leave their families behind and all that. And Walter and Jesse realize that they have the ricin with them, because they decide that Tuco needs to die after they watch him beat on that dude. When they got the food and Walter's putting the ricin in Tuco's food, and Hector sees it and he does that ding.
Yeah,
It's like, oh my God. It was so clever.
and that really
the way they
serves
work
purpose to the
that.
show. Yeah, that ding is everything.
The way they work that is so iconic, and he's just dinging it, and he's like, "Are they punking me?" Ding, 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 ding.
I like the chart that he has to do when he's talking to somebody.
Oh yeah, when the Salamanca twins come and they take out the Ouija board
Yeah,
and they have them ding at every letter. So it's Walter White. Oh, that's so clever.
that
But,
and this
that
scene is
fucking-
the end of this scene because Tuco gets hurt in this scene. It doesn't play out well for him somehow. I'm trying to remember how too, but Walt and Jesse get the upper hand, and Tuco gets shot in the midsection as Hank is pulling up because Hank is tracking Jesse Pinkman's car.
Which, my God, Hank is one hell of a fucking detective. Even if shit seems pointless, he's like, no, I'm gonna follow this through to like the end of the earth. Just the shit he finds that way is just like a bloodhound, which is intense. But
Yeah, Hank, Dean Norris, actually, with an N. This motherfucker plays Hank, and he is a monster. He's a juggernaut in the show, where he ends up
fucking alpha male on the screen, and like in the show, he's very much the alpha male to Walter, which
and Walt
way,
Jr.
kinda.
looks up to Hank more than he does his pops. He very much at points he always looks to Hank for guidance. Which when that drinking thing happened with Walt Jr. Probably should have listened to Hank on that one. He went and puked all over the pool. But this Hank character as he progresses through, I love his mineral phase.
Oh yeah,
When he goes
they're
through
not
that.
rocks, they're minerals. And the whole time his wife is still going through her kleptomania.
Yeah, she's
Which
stealing from houses.
That's really the one like loose end in the show, is that they don't ever treat that. She just keeps doing it, which really is fine. It's not a big deal. But
she just denies it. Deny. I don't know what you're talking about. Fuck, that wasn't me.
Yeah, I've met people that do that, where they just, even if you catch them right hand, like, I can't admit to what I'm doing if I don't know what you're talking about. And it's so you want to ram your head into a wall.
They don't want to give up the game, man. They're consistent.
Yeah.
At least they're not shitting their pants because they're trying to live up to the game.
God, now I'm thinking back to season 1, and there's so many stuff I want to talk about, but we'll be here all day if we do.
Yeah, when I suggested the episode by episode, I definitely didn't take into account the fact that there's so much to talk about in each episode. Like there's just too much. There's too much stuff.
Season 1's great with with that pillow talk thing, the pillow talk, but the intervention where they got to hold the pillow.
Oh yeah.
Hank changes his mind on it, and Skylar's screaming at him, and you can see all the sides of it. It's so weird how that scene is like funny, yet it's sad and like heart-wrenching, and you could completely understand all the sides they're doing, which is what makes it so difficult. And Walter's sitting there just like, God damn it, it's some of my favorite scenes are when Walter just goes nuts, just randomly like that dude with the Bluetooth headset.
Oh yeah, he blows up
Which-
the fucking car or some shit.
What's up his car? which is weird because that guy also has a cameo in Better Call Saul. It's nothing major, but it's funny when you see him there again. It's like, oh my God, is that him? And he's just an asshole.
He really is
still.
obnoxious. That guy is fucking rude.
He's like, why is it doing that? Why is it on fire? And he just walks away like it's nothing.
Yeah, broad daylight too.
So
Where he just walks the fuck over. It was
he
a,
don't
it was,
give a
It
shit.
was a long distance walk. He was like, "Fuck it, I'm doing it."
Yeah, they're not scared of cameras or anything. Which you think, if there were cameras there, right then they could have just stopped him. Just not even knowing what he was. Like, we got a video of this dude just blowing up this guy's car at a gas station.
Yeah, that's
All
that's
right,
the
I
end
give
of
him like a
Heisenberg
few
right there.
years. And then he dies of cancer in jail. I mean,
This relentless motherfucker would probably survive cancer in jail.
so gas stations, grocery stores,
He would have met the Nazis.
there's
faster.
your sign. To quote Bill Engvall, there's your sign. Get some goddamn security cameras.
Well, I mean that
And
that
just stop
serves as an ongoing issue for gas stations in this show. There's a lot of times where
Oh, yeah,
Hank has to get it from the ATM camera.
Mhm.
So yeah, that just might be an Albuquerque thing. They just don't like cameras or some
Mhm.
shit for gas stations in Albuquerque. But yeah, it comes back up a lot.
Yeah.
It's like
And,
that's like their roll up. That's the equivalent to their roll up. They're like, if we need to button something up real quick.
yeah. Yeah. So then, Walter and Jesse, find that. What is it? Tuco catches on that.
That they were
his
trying to kill
uncle is unhappy,
Yeah.
and he's like, "What'd you do to my uncle? And what'd you do to him?" And
What did you do to my
Not-
Dio?
yeah, that's it. And he's been on Jesse, and Walter distracts him by saying, "We tried to kill you because you're, fill in the blank insults." And, Tuco all methed up and shit.
Yeah,
and
he's messed up.
he's
That shit
obviously
was
like,
great.
"Ooh, motherfucker." Then Jesse beats him over the head with that rock. And
That's right. Fantastic work.
yeah, and Hank comes up and just happens to catch him. And he thinks it's just something with Jesse. And then he's like, "Oh my God, this is that guy we were talking about."
Well, wasn't he? He was
He's
trying to
got him.
find Walt because Walt went missing, and he found
Mhm.
out that Jesse was quote unquote Walt's pot dealer. So he's like, "I'm gonna go find Pinkman's car," and that shit was over by Hector. Which is just that trifecta is such a great setup for the show because Pinkman and Hank, Walt and Hank, just how that triangle and it grows throughout the show.
Mhm.
But that really
Yeah.
does just set up what the show is going to be for those three, at least those three triangle pieces.
Yeah, especially towards the end where Hank realizes, there's all these clues under his nose the whole time, and he doesn't notice it just because he's so close to him,
And
It's just
he realizes how fucked
under his
he is.
radar completely.
Yeah, he said this is the end of my career because that shit's embarrassing.
And then fucking Walt's just like, "Just let me die in peace. No one has to know." He's like, "No, dude, you're a fucking criminal. I'm not gonna let you just die." And
The
As
shit
he
that
says.
you've done, fuck that.
there's no way I'm gonna let you run out the clock. And it's
Well, I mean, he had to figure
Yeah.
Hank got shot because of this guy. If it wasn't for Walt fucking around, Hank wouldn't have been attacked in the parking lot by the
Almost-
twins.
almost everything in the show is a reaction because of Walt.
Yeah, it's just
I
Walt's
mean,
consequences.
through one way or another, and a lot of them he didn't intend, but it's those choices again, reactions, chemical reactions, where things just go to shit for him. Where shortly after that, Jesse and Walt start to, after Tuco's death, and Walt's gotta, make up as many lies. Where he goes into that fugue stage, shows up in the gas in that grocery store naked, and just plays it off like, well, I'm completely fine. I just had a fugue state. And the doctor's like, that's not really a thing. That doesn't just happen to people randomly. You realize that, right?
Yeah, Walt thought he was gonna
Walter
get.
realizes,
He thought he was gonna get out of it real good, but then they
like,
said,
a good old pat on the
"Yeah, you're gonna have to go to the mental clinic. We have to figure you out."
Yeah, then he has to explain, I hate my wife and my family. I'm dying. My son has cerebral palsy. I've noticed that's a theme with the show where Walter is unable to face himself and his choices, so he blames everything on other people. Where, like, there's that subplot with his old college roommate and
The gray
his
matter.
wife. Yeah, where he's not involved with the company because Walter left, and yet,
Well, he sold his shares for
it's
$5,000.
yeah, and wasn't it? I know it's not like blindingly in your face, but they like had a relationship, Walter and his wife,
Yeah, they hint to it very
and
strongly.
that ended not so well. So he sells his shares, and through the whole series, he blames them for it. And I think her name is Gretchen, the wife.
Yeah,
When
it's
she
Gretchen and Elliot.
eventually finds out, because Walter's been lying and saying they've been paying for it the whole time, even though they're not. And they still find out he's lying and they still offer to pay it. That's one of those big moments where, well, you're blaming them for everything when really they're not at fault. You chose to have an affair with her. You chose to sell your share, and they happen to get rich off it. And these people are actually trying to help you. Yeah, they're a bit condescending and super wealthy about it, but they're offering you the way out even after knowing what you're doing. And he's just like, fuck you. Partly because doing the meth makes him feel powerful and good.
Well, that's
So,
absolutely it, man. He doesn't. Gretchen and Elliot, they really hook him up with this left path to the right path. There's, this is could have been paradise, but you decide to fuck around. They gave him that option, but he just at this point he's already got a couple Heisenberg things on his baseball card. Like, he's got some stats already, so
yeah,
he knows the power, and once he gets that power, and he explains it later on, he's like, I'm in the empire business. I'm trying to be king.
yeah,
And he just knows that if he just folds his cards, he won't hit the jackpot in his mind. And his self-interest is his self-interest, so fuck it. And it
yeah.
shows throughout the show how much of an asshole this guy becomes, and he never realizes it.
Never does. It's probably I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit just to talk about it a little bit. Probably my favorite episode is Ozymandias. It's the third from the last episode. It's where the neo-Nazis kill Hank and they capture Jesse and
But that whole scene is insane. Oh my goodness.
that
I forgot about that scene.
the whole episode is just the fall of Walt. And it's all the reactions he's doing and everyone. And that's a clever thing about the episode when you rewatch it is the big climactic moments, they really don't show them. When Walter takes his daughter, they don't really show it, but they linger on Skylar and her reaction of it. Or when Hank dies, they don't really show it, but they show Marie and her reaction to it. Or when Walter attacks Skylar eventually when he's trying to get them out and Walter Jr. stops it. It's like fucking quick, but it's that lingering thing where Walter realizes it. And there's a scene there too where he's driving out to meet them because he thinks his money's gone because Hank, more or less tricked Walter and into thinking his money was being taken when it wasn't because Jesse's working with him. But we'll probably get to that more. But the episode itself, where like you can see it where Walter's looking in his mirror and he moves the mirror away from himself because he's not willing to face what he's done. Because in that episode, he's losing everything. He's completely destroyed his family. Jesse's, off the hinges because he figured out Walter poisoned Brock.
Yeah, he flipped.
it's all these things working against him, and he's got to look at himself in the mirror, and he turns it, and it's the little moments like that. It's the like a picture says 1,000 words. That episode is full of them. It's just full of those little moments like that where you just, or like another scene like where Jesse's hiding under the car during the shootout,
And Walt tells the fucking
and there,
Nazis where he's at.
yeah, and there's there's the glass that's in the sand, and it's tinted blue like the blue meth is sinking in the sand, because that whole episode, because the title name is named after this, like it's like a sonnet or a poem from like the 1800s, based on like it's based on like this Greek explorer that was in Egypt, and he's traveling through Egypt, and he sees the old empire of, as they called him, his name was Ozymandias, but to history it's Ramses II, and they see all his stuff buried in the sand, and it's the empire going down, and the whole episode is full of those where like Walter, kind of falls over like a statue as he's crying after they kill Hank. It's where he's like so rigid. When I like realized that, I'm like, oh my God, dude, this whole fucking episode is just full of that shit. Or again, with like the blue glass going into the sand, it's like Ramses II's, pyramids and statues sinking in the sand.
We know another very wicked Ramsey. You know what else I noticed is they put the big, like a pool, a very blue pool behind Walter a lot throughout the series. He's just sitting right in front of this big sea of blue, and it's like nodding that in the background of his life. He's the Michael Jordan of meth. Just a very rude one. But
the way they do pools in this series is interesting too, because
that teddy bear.
Yeah, I've watched the series about 3 times now, and it's a lot of they kind of have pools reflect like their inner subconscious in a way, where you never ever see anyone swimming in the pools. No one's ever swimming in them. It's just a sign of wealth or whatever. The only time you see someone in there is when Skylar jumps in to, convince Hank and Marie to, to take the kids.
Yeah, that shit was crazy.
All the characters, like Gus's big move against the cartel happens by the pool, and the flashback where Gus's lover is killed happens by the pool. And you see it's kind of this subconscious where like Walter through the series is obsessed with contamination. Where like I think a lot of people's least favorite episode, which is one of my favorites, is that fly episode.
I dig it. 'Cause I'm not mad at it at all.
Where the whole episode, through the whole series, you see Walt cleaning out the pool, throwing matches in it, and it's kind of a reflection of him. Just kind of, you gotta kind of think of it like in The Lion King, where Simba looks down, he sees the reflection of himself. In Breaking Bad, it's kind of like that, where the pool is kind of reflecting your headspace, and Walter's throwing matches in it, throwing money in it. He keeps trying to keep the pool clean, like as a way to manage his mental health as he continues down this dark road. Again, they never swim in it or anything.
The pool's his Zen garden.
Yeah, where, Jesse comes in, throws the money in the first season, or when Walter watches Jane die, Jesse's
which he fucking
girlfriend.
tells Jesse right before Jesse becomes a slave. Like that was the cruelest shit in television. Oh my goodness.
The whole thing where like he watches her die, and because Jane dies, his father lets those planes, he's going through grief. He's an air flight control dude.
Which
the planes crash into each other.
And
the teddy bear and all that shit flies down again into his pool, his mental headspace. He's trying to keep it clean. and yet shit almost from the heavens drops down and reminds him, you're a fucking monster. This is what your choices do. You chose to let her die. This is the reaction to it.
That whole Jane's
And
death scenario is fucking nuts. Her father's when she comes back in, or the show comes back in and Jesse's trying to do CPR, trying to revive her, and he can't. How Mike deals with Jesse, trying to prep him for when he makes the call. That
yeah,
propels huge going on.
which Mike, I love Mike.
Oh,
God,
he's one of my
that
favorites.
makes me want to get a fixer so bad. Just a guy like Mike, like just a guy that does your shit for you.
That
just,
dude makes me want to
really
be a grandpa.
way.
He's like the ideal grandpa. We'll go hang out and then go kill people on his free time.
Yeah.
He's a smooth,
great.
like by the books kind of fucking guy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when the police are talking to Jesse, and Jesse knows nothing about her, and he's just trying to cope with the fact that he's dead, but then he realizes he doesn't know anything about her. The dad comes in, and he just kind of takes care of business. You know what I'm saying? He's been looking for this day. We're not looking for it. He's been looking to avoid it, but he always expected it might come. His chance is going on. So he just takes care of business, and he's like, fuck it, I'll go to work and, just keep doing it. He never takes the time to handle grief. And then he accidentally slips up, says Jane within, when he's working, because he's got to direct these planes. He said, as soon as he says Jane, you see the look on his face. And that shit just like twists.
Mm-hmm.
And he just spirals, and that whole fucking thing was sad as fuck. And then when it goes from, like, when he was talking on the phone and he was laying out the dress that Jane would be buried in, that the camera angle, watch out for those camera angles. It goes from Jane's dress and then transitions into baby Holly as Walt's about to pick her up. And it's those subtle fucking nods that just drive the show. That episode was fucking crazy.
That's another one of those situations where when a little after they meet Saul, Saul sets up that meet with Gus, and they got to meet at a certain time, and Holly's being born, and Walter breaks into Jesse's apartment because Jesse's high on heroin.
And this is just after Walt gave him his cut of the money, and it's enough money for him and Jane to dip out of town and go have a happy life somewhere. Hopefully get clean, because they were fucking heroin heads at this point.
Yeah, which that's a sad, thing where that angle was really well done, because it showed, kind of the parents' side where they just don't understand. It's like, I don't care what you think. You're going to go to this. You're stupid for doing this. You're going to do it now. Just, you could tell Jane's dad loves her, but he's not very understanding of the struggle she's going through, where she fights it for a while, but again, it's intoxicating. People relapse. And when she ultimately dies because she relapsed, well, Walt not turning her over, but it's one of those things where Walt thinks he's victimless, or that he's not to blame, but he is. It's because she died that all those people died, but it's Jane's death is connected with those 160-some people in those planes that die. But it's another one of those things where Walt doesn't want to face the blame of his own decisions. When Jesse's freaking out that he thinks someone stole his stuff, and Walter's like, you made me miss the birth of my daughter. It's another one of those things where he's not willing to face his own decisions. He's blaming it on other people. Just like Gretchen and Elliot, and now on Jesse, when it's his own damn fault.
Well, Jesse at one point says, I found out that, or I realized that I'm the bad guy. And Jesse believes
Walter
it because she dies, or and it affects him. Walter is like, Walt knows he's a bad guy. It's like deep down, But the problem is he likes being one.
He does like it, especially towards the end, where he's like, "I'm the one who knocks, and I'm the danger."
Yeah, he's all about.
Well,
He's the guy who killed 6 people in 2 minutes.
yeah. Mike's guys that he's paid off in prison.
So
But
he knows he likes being a dick.
where Walter's like the ultimate villain in the show. He is the bad guy. It's just you're seeing the growth and the people around him as the decisions he makes becoming this bad guy eventually destroy everything around him. He loses his family. His son won't talk to him. You know,
And he's in denial the whole time. He calls Walt Jr. after Walt Jr. finds out his dad's a meth chemist. He calls this motherfucker, and the dude lets him have it. He's like, "Fuck you! I know who you are." But he's in denial, so he's like, "My son he'll forgive me surely. Someone's got to believe me."
that whole Gus thing propels into Jesse finding out that his new girlfriend's son is a drug dealer with some of Gus's partners.
Yeah, and they take that boy out.
That's a big moment in the series where that's what propels Gus to go, to kind of get rid of Walter one way or another. Ultimately it's like, all right, well, let's get rid of Gus. Is like, I got this other chemist guy, the what is it, Glenn?
Yeah,
I think.
No, it's
where.
Are you talking about Gale?
Gale, that's
yeah.
it, Gale, and the fucking
that karaoke video though.
Making the teapot and the singing and the Italian and all that. It's where again you could see the parallels where Jesse's doing this for arguably a right reason, where he's confronting Gus. He's telling him, these guys are using kids. This is wrong. You could tell Gus somewhat understands that. He's like, okay, no more kids. But then those guys kill the kid in response. And that drives Jesse to be emotional. And because of Walter's choice to, instead of thinking it out and saying, hey, they killed this kid, Gus, you're kind of the facilitator between the two parties. Can you handle this? They try to handle it behind Gus's back. And that's ultimately what drives the wedge between them. And Walter was going behind Gus's back from like the beginning, where like Hank gets attacked and he first invites Jesse to the new lab instead of Gale, and Jesse's waiting there and he's in the hospital for like a day. The cook is behind and Gus calls and Walter just keeps lying to him.
Yeah, and
instead of just being
Gus
honest.
shows up at the hospital with chicken for all the DEA agents because he's a DEA friend. And
it's
just doesn't even show like animosity towards Walt. Just lets Walt know that, hey, I'm smarter than you think. I know you're lying, motherfucker.
Gus is fucking fantastic. I love him the whole damn season.
Yeah, that guy. He's a
is great.
standout for sure. When he talks to Hector, to Theo, every time somebody from his family dies, I'm like, you cold motherfucker.
Yeah, and when he's around Hector, when Gus is around Hector, that's the only time he's really emotional.
Yeah, every other time he's business.
Once again, kind of going back to that pool thing, when you see the flashback of Gus meeting Hector and all them, and Hector kills his, friend / lover / business partner, and you see the blood draining in the pool, then it cuts back to that scene where he's by the pool again, but he's completely calm and composed. So even though he's by the pool, in his head, he's screaming and he's in pain, but it's that subconscious, and that's what he's hiding away. He's actually in deep pain when he's around these people, and ultimately that pain and that vengeance is ultimately what kills Gus, because Walter ties that bomb to Hector.
Oh my goodness.
And blows him the fuck up.
That ding, 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 ding.
And the fucking half face.
Yeah.
And you think for a second he's still
alive. He
adjusts
his tie.
he
fixes his fucking necktie falling over. You know what I noticed? there was you know how Gus would Walt would come up to him at the restaurant. Gus be like, well, welcome to how may I help you? He's very like in the fast food zone, and then every now and again just going with conversation, but he's professional the whole way. When Walt takes over that car wash and he's doing the thing, and Lydia comes up to talk to him, he does the same thing because he's a biter. He saw what Gus was doing and was like, shit, I'll do that too. And then there's one other thing I noticed where he was biting, where he, a Crazy 8, he cut the crust off for him when he was hostage. Every time you see Walt cut a sandwich for himself after that, he cuts the crust off the same way.
Yeah, he does.
And there's that. There's so much in this show.
I wonder what other traits he gets from the people he kills.
There's gotta be. It's gotta be just bedridden with these motherfuckers. There's gotta be a bunch of them.
Oh, I was gonna say Tuco, but Walter doesn't kill Tuco, so he doesn't get anything from him. Which, that's another thing with the water thing, where like Hank gets that trophy, and he's just dissatisfied with it, so he just throws it. He chucks it into that river, just in a way, kind of cleansing himself from that. But he's still suffered from the PTSD, where Hank's this great cop, but through the early beginning of the seasons, he's talking about, where that guy stuffed his arm in that trunk trying to pull that body out. He's laughing at it, taking pictures with the dead body. But when he's faced with it, it really traumatizes him. And
yeah, there's that bomb near El Paso with Turtle.
Oh yeah,
and his new commander or whatever, his legs get blown off, and Hank's like he steps to the car for a second. This is when it happens. And it fucks with him. He has a hard time bouncing back from it. He has a hard time handling things, and you see in the beginning of the show, he's very light. He's very jokey. He's having a good time. And then harsh things happen around him, all consequences of Walt. But he has a hard time coming back.
I think Hank's arcs is probably one of the saddest. I mean, God damn, that's another testament to the show where you can look at all these characters, you can see their arcs, and just they're all so fucking tragic and so well bit. I mean, Skylar goes through her whole thing where I know a lot of people kind of don't like Skylar so much because she's kind of like she's the meddling housewife, but
the last part of this show, I can deal with her. In the beginning, she's obnoxious in the beginning, and in the middle, I'm just like, come on, the whole Ted thing, the whole Ted Beneke thing, I had a hard time with. But towards the end, I'm like, all right, I can chill with you.
Yeah, that a happy birthday song or whatever.
Oh yeah, that was terrible. Hey,
I was like, oh, that's so cringy.
It's
like I'm uncomfortable listening to this.
Before I forget, how much did you like Bill Burr in this motherfucker?
Bill Burr's great.
He is fantastic in this thing. I really like the train one.
He's kind of he's another fixer more or less, but for Saul specifically.
Yeah,
it's where Mike works, the head of security for Gus, and he's got ties with Saul also because of with Better Call Saul, you kind of see their kind of how they meet and their relationship build, and it's interesting. But the things Hank goes through where he, is more or less paralyzed from the beginning. He has to go through intense physical therapy, and then the Heisenberg thing just takes over his mind. It becomes an obsession.
Well, it helps him rehabilitate too, because he's like attracted to the minerals because they're not like there's great stuff going on, but they're just there. They're just fucking there, and that's how he feels right now because he can't walk. He's just kind of there, and then the case comes back, and he gets in the zone again.
It's Gail dying.
Yeah, and the whole
Gail dying is what brings Hank back in.
The WW in the Notebook where he has that scene with Walt, and Walt tries to convince him that's
that whole thing is so manipulative. Where that's a big thing with Walt too, is that he's very like emotionally manipulative. As dangerous as he is, he's a fucking great manipulator.
Yeah, he flips his
And
story so many times.
they eventually kill Gale because Walter's unhinged.
Well, if Walt's
Gus realizes it.
Walt's the only cook, then Gus will always need him. So if Gale's no longer an option, then
But then they realize Jesse can do it.
Yeah.
And then Walt realizes this too. He's like, no, you can't do that. And he starts twisting Jesse into thinking all these things. And eventually there's that thing with the what is it? The Lily of the Wild where
the berry.
Yeah.
Walt grows these berries so he can poison Brock.
Because of the ricin thing he hid in Jesse's cigarette, and then that fucking thing was so goddamn sad.
You know what's creepy about that is every scene you've seen Walt with Brock, and you can tell Walt is looking at Brock thinking, hey, by the way, I poisoned you. Like, you can see it in his eyes. And Brock is creeped out by this dude every time. Every time they do that scene after that, I'm like, I'm like, somebody's got to take Walt out, man. Motherfucker's got to be stopped.
One of my favorite scenes also is early on, I think it's season 2, where Skylar finally confronts Walter about everything he's been doing, where she kind of puts it together and she's like, I know you've been lying about this. I know you've been lying about that. And I know you weren't with your mom because I called your mom. She didn't even know you had cancer. She's like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, that lie comes back. That's really the first. Hard.
And she kicks him out, but again, she doesn't want to. Skylar has a few mistakes, but I can understand it. You find out your husband's a monster. You want to sleep with this guy that was always kind to you. I can plausibly see that. It's uncomfortable, but I could plausibly see her angle, or when she's just waiting for him to die. God damn, there's
weren't we
so
all?
many things, but when she's trying to get divorced and the lawyer is giving her the option, like, if you do this, we will take him away, and she's like, I don't want my family to be destroyed. Like, I mean, obviously this is hindsight, where Skylar is fully thinking he's gonna die on his own. So maybe there's a way my family will get out of this.
Well, she figures she wants to run out the clock,
Yeah, but it very much goes the other way, where Hank ends up dying because of it. Walt is definitely a lot more responsible for all the things that happened. But Skylar had a chance to end it there, but unfortunately she was thinking for, Walter Jr. and all that, which, again, it makes sense. Which is a great thing about the show, is all these things, even though they're making such bad decisions, you can understand them. The way Walter treats Walter Jr. too through the series is pretty weird, where he doesn't seem to understand that, like, when he's teaching him to drive and he wants him to use only one leg, but he has fucking cerebral palsy. So,
yeah, he's like, you will do it how it should be done. Like,
motherfucker, I have a disability.
He's
definitely
like,
a special case, but he's just not willing to understand
easier for me, motherfucker.
And then when Skylar doesn't want to tell, when they separate and Walter Jr., no one knows why, Skylar's just like, yeah, you're right, it's none of your business. And that drives Walter Jr. back to his dad. His dad fucking uses that again. It's the fucking emotional manipulation. Then he just sneaks back in their house when they're gone. Oh, dude, those twins, when they come with that axe and they go into his, like, they're waiting on his bed. Those twins are so fucking badass.
I love those motherfuckers. From the moment I saw them crawling through the desert.
That scene was so goddamn weird and so fucking cool.
They just pull up in their car and just, like, dust off their shirts and join them.
There's that big fucking crowd of people going prone all the way up to that memorial.
But yeah, that's the tale of Heisenberg. You know what was dope is that, what episode is it? But they did a song for Heisenberg. That Spanish one?
Yeah. Yeah, where
that shit was fantastic.
Where they're talking about how the cartel is going to get him back.
Yeah.
We're taking their business away.
Yeah, he
those
he
twins
gets their
are
attention pretty
fucking
quickly.
Great villains. damn, it's hard to tell what we keep leaving out because we keep jumping around.
Yeah.
But it's
You know,
such a great
you know
show.
what makes
It's hard not
you know what
to.
makes the show interesting for me is it deals with a lot of things other stories don't really want to include. Like, you kill the bodies, you got to dump the bodies, obviously. It takes a really real approach, which sounds stupid, but it's true. It's authentic approach to like how this stuff has to get taken care of and dealt, and this is like crime turned up to 11.
Damn, there's so much.
I'm so happy for
Another thing I
for
thought of-
Vince to have a show like this. Like to be real, and for him to get El Camino and write and direct it. Like, this guy really just, and you could tell he loved this story that he was doing. But
Yeah,
he
definitely.
really had this. This is a slam dunk.
He's very passionate about it too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. When you listen to like his interviews, especially after the fact, and all, like someone was asking, like, at the end, he's like, it seems like Walter won, and he's like, well, you could see it that way if you want, but you could also see it that he lost. I mean, he lost his family. Everyone around him is either dead, traumatized. Everything he touched, turned to ash. So he's like, yeah, Walter may have gotten revenge on the Nazis, but
Yeah,
I mean, his money's all gone.
yeah, he has no life. He lost his family.
Look what it cost him.
The
and-
thing he kept, using as an excuse, he lost. Not just as an excuse, but that was his debt to be paid. And Vince is very, like, when you listen to him, he's very involved with saying, I wanted to show something that shows the dark side of it. When you get into the meth houses, like, it's that shit is crazy. But it's like he's like, this is where it could lead for real. So as he's making something that's this broken, this deep, but also finds a way to be light and capturing. Underneath the whole time, he's saying, hey, this is, don't do this. This whole thing is a campaign of shit you should not do.
And when Gus dies and they got to figure out what to do now, and they end up, hiring Mike as their head of security, and they kind of connect themselves back with Gus's partner for a distribution, that lady with the T,
Lydia, which Todd has
Yeah.
a giant crush on. This motherfucker's got. He's
There's,
digging her chili.
Yeah, there's that Easter egg in El Camino, that snow globe.
Yeah, with
that they show.
her sitting on the teacup.
Yeah, and it's him with it, and it's like, what the fuck? It's just so goddamn weird.
The tarantula that he has in his house is the one that the boy picked up. The boy that they killed during the train heist, or that he killed.
Yeah, that's
that tarantula.
he's a morbid motherfucker. I mean, you could definitely tell he's got a likable kind of personality, but
Well, I think that's where
when he wants to,
Walt really draws this interest with him. That's why he takes the Todd so early on. Like, Walt's doing this with sandwiches, and this dude, every time, his significant kill, he likes a trophy as well.
it's those, again, more of Walt's choices, those reactions that, hiring Mike of head of security, Mike's paying these dudes off, and even though they're making a lot of money, the money that's being taken away to keep these guys silent is pissing Walt off, and because he kills Mike, they need to go. And it's that choice that gets the neo-Nazis in their life, where if, at this point, Walter's rolled in money, he's completely fine, and it's...
Well, yeah, he never gives Jesse
At this
Jesse's
point-
$5 million cut. Like,
Yeah,
he gives him
and
an
it's-
ultimatum.
The early part of the seasons, it definitely is the family that's the motivator. The family is the motivator, but later on, it's more just his self-image or what he thinks of himself.
You know what it is?
and
It's
that he likes
It's the moment he realized that he might actually live from cancer. It's when he finds out he's in remission. When he finds out he's in remission, Walt dies. and that's when Heisenberg turns up. That's where he really starts taking over. Like he's like, wait a minute, I can do this more. I'm gonna do it more. But he had one of those options to where he could have chose not to. But he was like, I enjoy the power too much. It'd be ridiculous to stop. And he convinces Jesse over and over again. What are you gonna do when you quit meth or making meth? You're gonna just sit around smoking dope all day, playing video games, wasting your life? And he just manipulates Jesse into coming back with him. Yeah, Heisenberg just takes over from that moment, man.
It's interesting that Walt never does any of the drugs, yet he becomes just as addicted as the people that are using it. He just can't pull away, and he has legitimate options to do it. You know, if they just went through Gus peacefully and had Gus handle that child traffic thing, they could have been safe. But Walter took it in his own hands, lied to Gus, then, Gus threatening to more or less kill his infant daughter. Jesse forbids the death of Walt, but Gus kind of puts the fear of God into him. He's like, you get anywhere near Jesse, I'll, destroy everything you love. Which then, understandably, Walter goes a little nuts. And Gus probably underestimated him ultimately, but...
Well, this whole time, Walt just wanted to be Gus. He didn't want to work for Gus. He should have. When Mike says, you fucked up a good thing, Mike wasn't lying. Like, he could have just worked for Gus for a little bit, filled out his contract, and been made. But he wanted to be Gus. He wants to be the boss. When Mike takes over the sides of business, he tells Jesse, he's like, "Oh, Mike will take care of business, but I'll handle Mike." Like he wants to be king of the hill so bad. Clouds his judgment.
Yeah.
He makes some clear meth, but he makes cloudy judgment.
It's definitely, as he gets more violent, he starts getting more into it, where he takes a lot more pride in the things he does. Like, after he kills Gus, that's ultimately what starts to scare Skylar away, because at this point, she's a little more into it, just because, in order to help Hank after his attack with the twins, she comes up with the excuse that Walt got his money from gambling and lottery winnings. And so in that way, Skylar can involve herself, and she pays off Ted Beneke and all that. And that's ultimately why all their money's gone eventually for that little bit. And Walter has that, like, fucking Joker laugh at the fucking basement.
Yeah, he does.
Which, that basement's another thing for Walt's obsession with contamination, where he's down there sawing out all the rot, and Walter Jr. is looking at it. He's like, I really don't see anything here. He's like, oh, no, it's there.
Well,
Walter's like...
He was on a break from cooking meth at this point, so he came home and he's like, I got to do something. He was falling apart because he couldn't cook. That's the addiction.
Yeah. Walter's got this obsession with keeping things tidy, or he'll just dump out, or when Gail and him are making that thing and it's off by like a few degrees, and Walter just dumps the whole thing. He's like, it's been contaminated, it's ruined.
But at that point, Walt was also feeling threatened because Gail was starting to do a good job. He was trying to knock him down a couple levels. That was an ego thing too. He's real Howie Mandel-ish, but he's also, I don't know, LeBron James, like, who just fucking dunk in front of you just to show that he can do it. He's like, fuck you.
I think it's those scenes where he's getting rid of all these contaminants, like cleaning out the pool, cleaning out the wood, or dealing with the fly, where those are little things where Walter's trying to come out of the shell that is Heisenberg.
Oh, and he almost confesses to Jesse about Jane.
But
he almost does it.
Yeah, but yeah. He's like, I'm sorry about what I did. Those are his thinking through, but it's that way of controlling the contaminants. That's Heisenberg, kind of like Hector shoving that kid down that water. That's Heisenberg drowning Walter. He's like, I'm cleaning the shit out of the pool. I'm, getting the rot out. So if you look at it that way, those are little glimpses where Walter's like, I'm still here, I'm but Heisenberg he's very much in control, especially as it goes. Where it's interesting because at the end, where Walter returns and the pool is completely empty, and there's people actually using it, where he's
the kids
gone.
are skateboarding.
Yeah, there's no, and then he goes into the house with the empty pool and it just says Heisenberg on the wall, and he has to face what he is. He's finally looking in the mirror. He doesn't, there's no more of those exercises where he could blame it on something else. He has to face reality that he is what he is.
You know what's fucked up about that? Like the only reason why he went over to the Nazis wasn't to save Jesse, but he automatically assumed Jesse somehow backstabbed him by cooking his product with somebody else. Like he assumed that they were partners. So he didn't even go back to save him. He just came back to shoot everybody up.
Yeah. And then he realized he was what his thing was.
Yeah.
And then maybe he had a last bit of humanity, just because if anyone is, say you got like a scratch board for like a cat and you can see all the damage on it, Jesse is Walter's like scratching post, where Jesse's very much like cleaning out the pool, facing that Heisenberg thing on the wall where he's avoiding looking at himself in the mirror. When he sees Jesse there, all tied up with the beard, scars all over him after they kill his girlfriend in front of him, at that point, he really can't run away anymore. It's looking at him right in the face. Is almost everything Walt has done for himself has destroyed Jesse in one way or another. Through Walter's decision to get Tuco involved and Jesse getting beat, half to death.
Oh, he dragged him down with him every step of the way. Every stair, Jesse's head hits the step.
Yeah, Jane dying was because of Walt.
Rock getting sick.
Fucking
Mike getting killed.
Which is ultimately justified where Hank eventually finds the RV and he's about to get in and Walter has the idea to call, Hank's wife saying she got in an accident and it takes away. And again, Hank takes it out on Jesse.
Well, Hank later punched Walt for it when he was in the garage. But yeah, he immediately takes it on Jesse. Hank is imploding.
That scene where he goes in the hospital, Jesse says, he's like, "You've ruined me, everything with you turns to shit. My life is horrible." And he's right. But
yeah, I think it's
that mental manipulation.
It's pretty poetic how like Walt just throws Jesse in the disposal, so often, and a couple of the times it's under, it's Hank's, finger hitting the switch. And then for them to come together to stand up against Walt, at the end of the show, that's just so poetic how those two arcs just figured their way out.
Yeah, almost everyone's against him. Skylar and his own son is against him at the end
Everybody
of it.
but the Nazis. But even the Nazis don't.
He's disabled. Yeah. And
well, Saul was behind him a lot.
Well, it's the money. Saul's very selfish, but there were
he's getting that money.
There were times too where he's like,
he tried to reason with him.
It's making a more sensible decisions. Which, goddamn, I love Saul. Maybe I'd have to say either Mike, or Jesse, or Saul are my favorites. God, they're all so great.
It'd be about that too. That's probably my top three. You know what's fun is Bob Odenkirk. He wanted like weaves in his hair. For when he did it, like it was like his first decision when trying to build the character. He's like, can I have my hair look really, really bad, and every time we're outside, can like get some wind on me and just have it wave around. Like he just wanted to portray like a gutter type lawyer. He did so well with that fucking role.
Definitely. If you haven't seen Better Call Saul,
I'm definitely diving into that guy.
The listener, it's definitely worth a watch because he's wonderful in that.
Mainly because I want to see more of Mike.
Just watching him, watching him go from like noble pursuits and then realizing, what's advantageous and what's not, and the things he does is very interesting. It's not as dark as Walter White, obviously, but I mean, I don't think anything will be.
No, that was
I mean,
the show. The show
fact
gets
that
brutal.
when it ended, the fact that when it ended, George R. R. Martin, the writer for the Game of Thrones books, was like jealous. He's like, "Oh my god, this is like the best. Walter White's like the best villain I've ever seen in my life." And he gave like Vince Gilligan a bunch of like, brownie points for that. But
I mean,
you got a dude that writes such great characters as George R. R. Martin does, and Walter's got to be up there with like the best villains.
well, this is a complete turn of character too. Like if he didn't have this kind of switch, and everything makes sense at the same time, it's like when he's giving his speech about how like he got kicked out of Gray Matter. When he gets kicked out of Gray Matter, and he that kind of just kept with him the whole time, and that's why he can't leave the meth business. Like he was gonna be just King Kong no matter what. Like everything draws back to it. It makes sense with things that he's had to deal with.
More symbolism. It's another one I thought of with that pool that I'm gonna kind of sticking with is Skylar, going into that pool, to drown herself is symbolic in a lot of ways because it's nighttime and the pool is light blue. Their pool at that time is the same color as their meth, so it's kind of symbolism for Skylar just to walk in there like the trance she does, and it's showing that Walter's family is being sunk in this thing that he created. Again, it's just fucking wonderful symbolism. It's just fucking packed with it.
Yeah.
The next time I watch Breaking Bad, it might be a couple of years, but I'm definitely going to pay more attention to those pool scenes and like what they're doing around it. Like, I know there's a scene where he makes Walter Jr. drink, and I noticed that he pukes inside of the pool.
Yeah, right in front of Hank. And Hank is trying to get him to stop drinking. They end up in an altercation. It's like the first time that Hank sees that Walt's got some aggression in his, attributes. It's like he's like, oh, this guy can be rude as fuck. But yeah, he's making his son just take shot after shot.
Yeah, which I thought was interesting because, that's where Walter's being really aggressive toward his family for the first time, and his son literally vomits in. If we're gonna keep using this analogy that the pool is like symbolism for the mind, that's literally his family's reaction. To Walter's decision.
I got one for you. Ready? The
way he acts
when the day Hank finds Gail's book in Walt's bathroom, right? But when that scene starts, Walt's, he's out of the business. Like him and Skylar, they're finally trying the upstanding life, and Walt Jr. is pushing around Holly, on that baby car around the pool.
Yeah.
So it's like they're trying to be happy around his meth empire. And then Hank goes off into the bathroom, finds Gail's book, and everything just kind of turns. Yeah, that pool is it's symbolic as fuck.
Yeah, it's kind of a sign too with like pools obviously symbolize a side of wealth, You look at like The Sopranos and shows like that where they have all their parties around pools because they're wealthy things, or the cartels have pools, and yeah, again, they never swim in them, but it's also kind of a sign that there's this thing that they have, and it's very materialistic, but they never use it. And Walt goes through all this stuff. He gets all this materialistic stuff, and through it all, it destroys everything. Where instead, if he spent more time with his family, yeah, he may not have gotten rich, but Walter would have a much better reputation with his family. His family would still be happy. They'd be loved. And over time, yeah, Walter may die from the cancer, but his family would, still be healthy, and
I
over
mean,
time they would overcome that grief.
realistically, I mean, he still would have put him in a bad spot with that money. Because that's Skylar finding out she's got to launder money without anything going on.
Yeah.
She wouldn't
Which,
have just taken a whole bunch of random money and not have it in the books. So I mean, the idea is nice, and it's a good excuse for the first few seasons. But realistically, that shit wouldn't have worked.
not to say the show's very political, but, you know, it's saying something about,
It touches it at
the
times.
state of, yeah, like healthcare, where in order to pay for your fucking cancer treatment, you gotta make a goddamn meth empire.
It's the only way to do
Where
it.
it drives you to those lengths.
And they really
And,
really show that early on, in, like him coughing up blood. A lot of his coughing fits. How many medications he has to take.
mhm. The show is fucking sad, especially on like reflection.
And then they put happy music
You
over
see.
it and somehow make it work.
Jokes, throughout. And
Yeah, bitch.
no, what are your thoughts on the finale and how it ended? Like the series?
I feel like it was a home run. I mean, I really
Yeah.
don't have any complaints about this show, like at all. The
Mm-hmm.
it amazes me. I mentioned they have a lot of content in a little amount of time, but so much happens in the last 3 episodes that by the time the last episode happens, and they've already hinted at it. The first episode of the season had Walt with the 52 on his pancakes at the diner. So there was already a familiarity getting into it. And oh, this is that the answer to the
2
question.
fucking years. Jesus. Only 2 years, and that drastic of a change happened to him.
They split the last season up. They did a part 1 and part 2 because Vince wanted extra time to write the second half. Take notes. Was it Dave and Dan?
Yeah.
He was committed about making this shit work. So he took time, split it up. He's like, I'm gonna figure out this finale, and it showed. And this is in retrospect. This is why I love El Camino as probably as much as I do, because like that showed very much of how this went. Like I'm okay with time jumps when they work, and this one worked out for me. And he comes back, that whole house scene where the kids are skateboarding in the pool. The Heisenberg is tagged up in his living room. He says hi to Carol next door. There's after I think the episode before or around there had a previous time where he waved, so there's a little bit of a Easter egg there. But him doing the Gretchen Elliott thing and then finding out with Skinny Pete and Badger, Jesse was around.
the fucking laser pointers where he's like, I have 2 snipers that'll, shoot you at any moment. It's just done with laser pointers. It's so fucking brilliant.
And he's smart.
Which Badger and Skinny Pete are fucking great.
I love those motherfuckers. I was so happy
too.
to see him in El Camino. Just geeking the fuck out, being nerds. Everything worked. They did a very good job of tying up some knots. And that relief you get after Jesse's free. We don't know what's going to happen with him. But just ending with him getting free, and then that camera angle panning out of Walt after he's bleeding out in the meth lab, because of course he's bleeding out inside of a meth lab. It's like the perfect touch-up brush strokes. It just painted the picture perfectly. What did you think, Rag? Did you enjoy it as much?
Definitely, yeah. It's definitely wonderful. There's not a lot of downsides to the series that I can really think of.
No, there's really not.
Once I got into it the first time, I watched the whole series in 2 weeks. And I watched it a couple times since, and with as many times as I've watched it, if anything, it tends to grow on me more because I notice new things. Like this last time, I noticed the pool stuff this time, and I was like, "Oh my god!" But that was like way later on when I realized it was all empty. I'm like, I gotta rewatch this again. So I thought the finale was brilliant and the way they handled everything, and
You know, after watching El Camino, it makes
know,
you so happy to watch Jesse choke Todd to death in that last episode. Like, that's an even better
yeah.
moment now.
My God, fucking Aaron Paul is such a great fucking actor where he's like laughing and crying at the same time when he's driving off in that El Camino, at the
Oh,
end.
he's fantastic. He commits to
As
this role so well.
he does, yeah. I would definitely say this is gonna be definitely a classic in terms of cinema. I mean,
It absolutely
I
is.
mean, not only, yeah, I mean, like crime drama wise, up there you got like True Detective, you got The Wire, you got The Sopranos, and they're all good. But Breaking Bad, it's so many different things. It's in ways it's kind of a character study, but but
It feels
I would
like
say,
it's a community study because everybody. I think
yeah,
the only
yeah,
one who doesn't do wrong in this show is like probably Walt Jr. and Steve Gomez. Those two are
yeah.
the
Walter Jr.'s
only
like,
saints in this show. Everybody else is just you're watching their
yeah,
arc and how one person's actions can just ripple out into so many waves. But yes, Steve Gomez,
which
I love that
you know,
motherfucker. Gomez is dope.
yeah. Unfortunately, that's reality. Like no one's perfect. Everyone's got their things. I mean, as minor as it is in the series, I mean, Hank's wife Marie is a kleptomaniac, and that choice affects Skylar in a few different ways where she tries to return that thing. It's very much how the character's choices, again, and their reactions affect the things around him. Walter, especially. He's like a sumo wrestler jumping off a fucking diving board. But, Jesse's choices to keep staying with Walt keeps putting him in harm's way. He's staying in that toxic relationship, and so is Skylar. Skylar's choice to not turn him in eventually into this. Hank's choice to where Hank could have taken that promotion, and yeah, it was hard on him, but if he took that, he probably could have been better off instead of being tied in with this. What I mean, of course, he didn't know at the time, but what ended up being his brother-in-law, and what ended up being the death of him.
The repercussions are endless. They really are.
Yeah, and I would say that's the ultimate theme of the show is just the waves and the ripple effects and the repercussions and the consequences of their choices. And god damn it, such good writing.
The writing
So
writing is excellent. There's no
yeah.
this is my favorite show of all time. I can't the first two times I watched this show front to back was within a year. I was like I watched Breaking Bad all the way through. I got my now girlfriend into it, and we watched it together, and you just can't when you watch it you can't just watch an episode. Like you gotta watch the whole fucking thing. It doesn't work like that. But yeah, it's very like in moments where Jesse is trying to decide if he's out or not, and you see the look on Mike's face when you hear Walt saying, "Well, we'll talk about it. You know, you're not gonna let me cook on my own during this transition period, would you?" You know, he's like, "Don't. We'll talk about your money. Just come over later." And Mike's face is like, "You just leave him alone."
Yeah.
And they have these little subtleties that make everything just work. And work you as a viewer. Like there's always something just pulling you in.
If we have a rating, like the Bearded Synergy rating, I would say it's like a 5-star, 10 out of 10, A plus, whatever the hell you want to call it. But
yeah, it's of the highest of it's the goldest of stars.
All right, well, El Camino recently came out, the Breaking Bad movie on Netflix. I know that it's getting a lot of hate because it kind of ended the same way it began, where he's driving in a car, looking off. But I mean, did they not watch the movie where they saw the changes he went through? I mean, he's crying, screaming, freaking out, dirtier than shit in the beginning, and then by the end, he's calm. He's found peace.
Yeah, I mean, it's the movie answered the
So
questions we were
it's the
asking.
journey.
What happened? What happened to Jesse? Because the last episode took so much. You know about Walt, but you don't really know what happens to Jesse. And when that moment hits where he's driving and he's screaming, you're asked, what's he gonna do now? What's gonna happen? It was really the only movie they could make for the show. I don't think there was any other movie they could have made.
I'm happy they didn't include Saul in it. I mean, I was kind of hoping they would, but I'm glad they didn't, where they kind of have their own lives now. How they're not strung together no matter what.
Yeah,
Which is kind of nice. It's more realistic.
and Saul's out. He dipped out. He would definitely not come around, and Jesse wouldn't know where to find him. It wouldn't have made
Saul's
sense.
now like what is it? Saul's a manager at Cinnabon.
Yeah. Hey, I'm sure he would have been so
there's
happy
that
with it.
joke
He
he
would have been
made.
paid. Fuck. He has money.
Yeah, there's that joke he makes in Breaking Bad where he's talking to the dude that you give a bunch of money to and he replaces your identity. God, that guy is so fucking interesting. And I'm so glad they brought it back
With
to
the
movie
eyebrows?
also, which it's yeah. Which God, it's so sad because that guy just passed away like a few days
That's right,
ago.
he did. And yeah, he was I'm so happy they brought it back because he was a very important piece to the ending of that story. And then
Very much,
Jesse,
yeah.
and the fact that he would bring up that Jesse owed him for the money that he ditched out on the first opportunity to get, to leave. And he's saying, I should have left.
It's Robert Foster. I'm not sure. It sounds like a weird thing, but yeah, he's
Good
really
fucking
cool.
actor.
I was so happy they brought him
And by
back.
the way, I knew he was actually calling the cops. When Jesse was going on that rant, like, how you gonna explain to cops that you have a load of money? Like, it's like, no, he actually did call. Just run. The cops are coming. I saw him click enter.
He could just say, I don't know why the hell he brought all this money in here. The dude's an idiot.
He's just like, he just showed up. I'm like,
How's that
I'm
connected
not
with
trying
him?
to collect this money. Officer, take it away.
I would say this focuses a lot more like on PTSD, where he keeps showing the flashbacks where he's in the shower and he's getting hosed. It cuts to that.
When he wakes up in a new environment for
When
the
he
first
wakes
time,
up.
yeah, and he sees the
Yeah, he's
yeah,
freaking out.
he doesn't do good with it. He's trying to leave out the window. Pulls a gun out on Badger and
And
Skinny Pete.
I guess there's a thing where the money that Walt gives them in the last episode, like for paying them to help with the Elliot and Gretchen, apparently that's the money they give to Jesse, which I don't know, I saw that somewhere, I forgot where, but I'm like, I don't know if we can prove that. I mean, they
Yeah,
didn't
because
say
that
but-
house looked pretty nice.
Mhm,
They had some nice shit going on. They had a good setup.
definitely.
Playing video games, talking about shit.
It's yeah, and Skinny Pete don't give a shit. Like he's like, yeah, man, I'll take the car. He's just happy to drive it for a little bit.
Which is cool because that teaser trailer we got in the beginning, when he's in the interrogation room and he's talking about, I saw what they did to him. I'm not gonna put him back in the cage. I like they didn't put it in the movie, but we now know how
Yeah.
Skinny Pete got in that interrogation room.
For Aaron Paul's performance, obviously he's a star. Would you say he did good with reprising his role as Jesse
Oh,
Pinkman?
absolutely. It felt like the only thing taking it away from, like, I know it's this much later, was the fact that Todd looked a little bigger. They try to
Mhm.
there was that scene in the diner where it's after the episode 4 Days Out, where they go and try to make meth somewhere, but Jesse leaves the keys in the ignition. The RV dies, so they're stranded out there. They take a flashback to when
Yeah.
they finally get to civilization. Jesse's at a buffet or whatever. It acts as if it's right there in that time period, but Jesse just looks aged at this point. So I feel like if they made it a little sooner, it would have helped that. But as far as his performance,
Yeah.
he said the only episode he watched before he started filming was that one where him and Mike decide that they're gonna be out the game. So the scene that opens up with them by the lake talking about Alaska, he wanted that frame of reference for that scene. But the whole thing plays as if he's right back in the role. Like it literally picks up where it left off. And Jesse or Aaron Paul's performance as Jesse just really holds up. He does such a good job. This guy, I like this guy so much as an actor. I checked out that Cult show on Hulu.
Oh yeah, yeah. God,
It was an alright show. I just didn't like, things around it. But his performance was good in that. Yeah, I think he knocked this fucking thing out the park. I'm happy with the movie. As a standalone, I don't know how it would work, but as a follow-up, this is like, if you're going to make a sequel, quote-unquote sequel to your television show, this is the way to do it.
I would say that thing about the aging and the time passing is probably my only flaw, which it's not really a flaw because there's nothing you can really do about time.
And
unless you want to spend a bunch of money on that de-aging stuff that like Samuel L. Jackson did in Captain Marvel, or that Will Smith did in Gemini
it's
Man.
weird. The guy who plays Todd, the last time I saw him was in Fargo season 2, and he was big in that. So it wasn't that weird to me. But when I went to go rewatch season 5, and Todd was smaller, that's when it was kind of weird. It kind of worked out that way.
Yeah, made that Fargo and Breaking Bad money. It's like, I can afford Cinnabons now.
I mean,
nothing wrong with
I
Cinnabons.
mean, they're dope.
Sponsor us.
They're not bad. They're pretty good.
I would say that's probably my only flaw with it is the aging, but again, there's not much you could do about that, so it's not that big of a flaw in my eyes.
I like that he kept going. The ways he would try to get out into his new life, like everything it took a piece from the series. Everything meant something. And the one thing that wasn't was the welding company, which could have been referenced early on, but they really connected to when they were installing the rigging system for Jesse when he was a slave for the Nazis. So even that was like deeper into the story.
I would say this movie did what it needed to do, where it fleshed out an already very fleshed out story. Gave more like background to the characters, behind it, which it honestly didn't need.
No, it didn't need it at all. But it was like dessert.
Yeah. I was fine with the way the series ended because it was almost perfect, where it's just kind of open ended. But it is nice knowing, how it ends, because it's still a bit open ended. It's not like.
No, they can always find him. Something can happen before he reaches his place in Alaska.
For comparison, this is going to be a bit of a spoiler alert for the show Dexter.
Fuck that finale. Jesus. There's no way they can fix that if they try to do something else. There's no way they can.
Yeah. So if you haven't watched Dexter and you want to see it, just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Sound effect. Dexter is in Alaska at the very end, and there's almost no consequences to what he did. And it just it's very much kind of open-ended, where he's like a lumberjack.
Yeah, he's just sitting in a break room as his kid's going off somewhere without him.
Which, by the way, Alaska is a pretty fucked up place in fiction land if you got Dexter and Jesse Pinkman.
Yo, yes, a super fucking side note. There's a podcast, Marvel has a podcast called Wolverine, The Lost Trail. They've had 2 seasons, but it's like they're telling a story about Wolverine, and he's in Alaska, and it's a Weapon X scenario. But this shit is fucking dope, Greg. And it's based off in Alaska, and they play about the whole thing is Wolverine goes to relocate.
So a bunch of bearded people, bearded Jesse, bearded Dexter, bearded Logan. They're all just
Battle of the Beards in Alaska.
Talking about the fucked up shit they did. I mean, there's not a crazy ton to talk about the movie. It's pretty. I mean, a lot of it's flashbacks, which is nice. Like, like at first when it started, I'm like, okay, where is this going? This seems a little pointless, but the flashbacks and all the tangents they went on were very well done, and they were all relevant by the end, which I thought
And
was
it makes
nice.
you realize
And
how bad things really got for Jesse. Jesse was a dog. He was literally
yeah,
treated
like
like a
literally.
dog. He had to put his head down uh, on the seat, the car, when they rode, so he couldn't be seen. But also when they stopped, Todd pats him on the head like he was a good boy. He had
Hmm.
he had to lay in the back with the dead body. After he helped Todd put the
Oh,
the lid on the trunk or the bed of the truck. Things got
oh
bad
yeah,
for
the
this motherfucker.
housekeeper.
Yeah,
When those crime scene investigators came in and they turned out to be just criminals looking for his stuff.
yeah, the welding guys.
Dude, th- that fucking twist was so cool. I was so happy they did
Yeah,
that. He's like, "You're not cops." There's it's fucking great the way they did that.
and they made it really. They
And
did a good job of making it seem like they were just crooked cops. Like they really sold that shit.
yeah, and the annoying neighbor or landlord, which kind of makes you want to be the annoying guy in the neighborhood just to bug everybody, just in case something weird is going
Yeah,
on.
don't be afraid to go around talking.
Just to be
It's
thorough.
not bad to be a witness. There's no danger for it.
And my like fantasies where I'm wealthy, like John Wick wealthy, where I got like gold coins, you know, hidden in the concrete, like for the basement, and to get to it, you gotta like smash into it, like on Red, where Todd has it in these books. I had that idea once to do that, and I'm like, dude, wouldn't it be cool to get like some hollowed out books and just put some money in there? So for a bit, I was putting money in like these, I mean, just books I wasn't reading, but it was kind of weird because, 2 months later, I'm going back in there. I'm like, oh, hey, yeah, $10 instead of like, millions and millions of dollars.
I like the fridge idea.
Sort
The
of
fridge idea
which
was slick. That
that
one little
was a
bundle
really
fell
cool
out.
idea. Yeah, God, that was so well done with that. Man, that finale too with that shootout where where Jesse's going there and he's just asking for more money, but he's not willing to kill him. He's just like, hey man, I'm just asking, man. All I need is like 1,000 and 800 more dollars.
Oh yeah,
Well, again, the dude's high,
and he just sees that Jesse has a
and
22.
he's got his 45 or
Yeah,
whatever, and he ends up shooting him through his coat
well he's got
pocket.
that 38.
That was so fucking
I like that
cool.
a bunch.
I love that shit.
And he gets the
Because
driver's license from. You could tell he really learned from Mike. This whole movie is like Jesse gets out, but he deals with what happened to him, but he's got his shit together enough to remember what Mike taught him. So he's just making his steps, doing everything he can do to break free.
Yeah, staying calm. Where the first time Jesse meets those guys in the apartment, he just gives up.
Yeah,
And
he
he's
got
him
he got
held
restrained.
hostage, and
They had him
yeah,
on the ground back in restraints. He could have been a slave again.
where the second time he meets him, he's very much calm, and he just walks in there. He don't care. He waits and he's more patient. I would say for a Breaking Bad movie, I would say El Camino was just about what it needed to be. I wouldn't say it's like a masterpiece in filmmaking, but for being in the Breaking Bad universe, the for being in the MCU, the Meth Cinematic Universe, for that, the Better Call Saul, all that, I would say it's great for continuing that story and giving it an endpoint.
Yeah,
So, for what it
it's
is,
the period at the end of a sentence. A standalone film, I don't know how it would have worked. That my brother-in-law Adam, that whole thing kind of confused me. I questioned a little bit about that, but yeah, as part of that universe, that what the story he was telling, I don't think I would have wanted anything different. I think that's the big thing for me. Everything made sense to me. Everything kind of just clicked.
Yeah.
You know, that he didn't try too hard. He didn't, you know, it was just a lot of fan service.
Yeah, definitely. All the Easter eggs and the
There was another point
flashbacks.
where Jesse, he's at the welding, you know, in El Camino, and a beetle comes by, and he lets the beetle crawl on him, and he picks it up, and it's reminiscent of something that happened on in season 2 or 3.
Yeah, where
And then Skinny Pete steps on it.
Skinny
Yeah.
Pete gets robbed by that lady and
Oh yeah, the Peekaboo episode.
and the dude with the ATM, and there's like I no skank.
Yeah. Skank.
He's got the skankity skank. Fucking reminds me of that Monty Python bit with the spam. It's like spamity spam.
That episode was nuts, man.
But yeah, where he's out there and he's letting the bug crawl on him, and then Skinny Pete just stomps on him as he walks over. It's fucking funny. Do you have any other thoughts on the movie?
You know, I got a bunch more, but it's really just beating a dead horse, man. There's not much better television. And I love Cheers, Frasier. I watched The Sopranos growing up. Like, I enjoy television. But there's just something special about this show. The ride they take you on, there's really nothing like it. I mean, this show ruined television for me. I think after this, like, I could find seasons that were good. Like, there were seasons of the Marvel shows that were good, but then they would follow them up and kind of fuck up. But Stranger Things and Game of Thrones are really the only shows after this to really hold on to me.
There are some other shows, but yeah, Breaking Bad really broke that glass ceiling of what shows can be, where it excelled even movies. I would say if you're into this, True Detective Season 1 is definitely worth a watch. It's very much storytelling. It's only it's maybe 10 episodes, I think. Otherwise, there's The Wire.
I heard very good things about The Wire.
The Wire, as the director describes it, someone asked him what it was about because each season is like a different like crime thing, but it's the same characters, but they're doing stuff.
It's like
and there's other recurring
Crime
characters.
of American Horror Story. They just change it up.
It's very realistic because the guy was this dude was like a journalist in Baltimore, and his description of The Wire is that the main character is Baltimore and how it reacts to police corruption.
That's a Batman trick. I really enjoy Legion and Fargo, but Legion was only 3 seasons. Yeah, Fargo was only 2 though. I really want more. Both of them were fantastic. Billy Bob Thornton in the first one, I just adore that motherfucker.
That speech about the dragon that he does to Tom Hanks' brother is fucking wonderful. I love that shit. There's also Barry.
I heard Barry with Bill Hader
shows,
right? I heard some really good shit about this.
It's very well acted. It's a comedy / he's a dangerous motherfucker, but as he goes into this acting class, because he's tracking this dude who's an actor, minor spoilers for episode 1. It's not a big deal, but this dude's emotionless. He's an emotionless killer, but him going to this acting class, it's got Henry Winkler as the teacher. He slowly starts to learn humanity, and he starts to doubt what he's doing, and it fucks with his performance, on the field, and he starts growing conscious of what he's doing, and he starts to not like himself, and he tries to get out, but obviously there's things that happen where he can't. Season 2 ended around when, I think it was the same time the finale of Game of Thrones was, and that fucking, there's a cliffhanger on there that's nuts. I'm so excited for season 3. I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure I'm gonna jump on that train. Plus, I love Henry Winkler.
By all means,
That motherfucker's dope. I was happy to see him in Parks and Recreation.
Well, if you enjoy the show, help it grow. We post our videos on YouTube. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're not really on Instagram, but you can follow me there if you want.
Just Google us, man.
That's all at Bearded Synergy Podcast.
Or Ask
and
Jeeves.
All that shit.
Or, like, Bing or something.
You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Comment at us. We dig them and they're not too weird. Like, hey, what's the shape of your butt? Then I'll probably answer it. So
It's shaped like a W.
we dig.
WW. Two butt W's.
My ass is like Hank Hill's ass. It doesn't exist.
Ooh.